This is the Solid Signal podcast for the week of November 2nd, 2020. The topic for this week has got to be Netflix. Netflix went ahead and raised prices on their upper tier plans, starting for new members, and it will be rolling out to everybody in the next 2-3 months. And look, I have been pretty critical of Netflix in the past because I think that they put out an awful lot of content that isn't really up to snuff. It's enough that, well, okay, so you're probably going to find something that you like, but for every program that actually catches the public's consciousness, Tiger King or what have you, there's probably 100 of them that just aren't that good. Netflix is always taking a quantity over quality point of view, feeling like if they just put enough content out there, sooner or later they will find something for everybody. Look, I'm not going to dispute whether or not it works. Clearly, Netflix is doing very well. If I had the same kind of money personally that Netflix has, I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. Or who knows, I just might do it for the fun of it. But more to the point, Netflix is a powerhouse. Netflix is doing very well, and they're considered the top tier of streamers. And, and honestly, they're not charging really a whole lot more than someplace like HBO Max or, CBS All Access or something like that. But they do charge a lot. And if you don't tend to go to Netflix more than once a week, you may find that you're really not getting your money's worth. I don't know if a lot of people are going to cancel Netflix because of another $1 charge, because it's really not that much money. But I do think it's tone deaf. And I'll explain why. Netflix is raising prices at a time that the economy isn't doing so well and a lot of people are struggling. And yes, it's only $1 or $2. And yes, you could downgrade to the lowest plan. And honestly, Netflix isn't even like one of the most important things in life. But I think the company could probably do without the extra revenue for 6 to 9 more months and would probably benefit from saying to people, hey, here's a way that we can give you more value. I will give it to the folks over at Disney Plus because for the most part, they've been adding more and more value. And they're not the only one. Disney Plus has been adding movies that would have gone theatrical and making them available to people, with the exception of Mulan. They did the whole $30 thing, which I think was a big mistake. But for the most part, they added Hamilton. They added a lot of other stuff that would have come later, and people benefited from it. Same thing, Apple TV Plus is extending the subscriptions of everybody who got the original free year. They're extending it out another 3 months. But in the meantime, Netflix is announcing that they're going to charge more money. I'm not sure it's going to lead to this massive backlash, although I kind of think it would be kind of neat if it did. But it's just tone deaf. It's just the wrong time. It's the wrong moment. And you can't tell me that Netflix can't make it another 6 months without raising prices. They could even raise prices $1.25 in 6 months and probably still do better by doing it that way instead of raising the dollar now. Although I understand it would then get into a certain number of cents and therefore it wouldn't be a nice even change and blah, 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 blah. But it's just not a smart idea. It's not a smart idea for the folks at Netflix because they just don't have as good a reputation as you think. Not if you look at the sheer amount of stuff they have compared to the amount of good stuff they have. If you look at something like HBO Max has been a real winner in a lot of cases. And while no, not everything has been perfect, not everything has been for everybody, their premium stuff has been pretty good. Lovecraft Country has been a big hit. Their newest one, The Undoing, is doing fairly well. I gotta say, it's for people who really like that kind of Big Little Lies mentality, it's another winner. And no, HBO Max doesn't have this gigantic spigot of entertainment like Netflix does, but what they do put out is good. And that makes sense for a premium product that you're charging a premium price for. Everybody who has cut the cord has done so because they thought, okay, well, I'm paying a lot for a lot of stuff that I don't really want or need. Although I'm a big satellite TV fan, I will acknowledge that there's probably 50 channels that I never look at. That's just not worthwhile to me. And yeah, it would be nice to pay less and not get those 50 channels, but that's just not how that works. On the other hand, when it comes to streaming, that's exactly how that works. All of this stuff that Netflix is putting out there, they're paying to produce all of it. They're paying to buy all of it. And so it's costing them money. And yes, they know what works and doesn't work. They've got some really good analytics to try to explain that. But in the meantime, those are big picture kind of things. It's not a question of what works or what doesn't work for you. You know, folks, I'm a little bit bitter about this because I think that Netflix has tried numerous times to jack prices up to a ridiculous level, to put out huge amounts of content that really isn't that high quality. And this is just the latest time. And nobody else is really calling them on it. They're just saying, oh, well, Netflix is raising their prices again. It's going to be $18 a month. $18 a month, I mean, is not that much, but it's 20% of what the average person pays for pay television, just for Netflix. And it's just not that good. You're not going to find everything you need, and you're going to continue to find high value stuff like Friends and The Office continue to drift away from Netflix in favor of these lower quality, poorly produced original programs. And at some point, Netflix's reckoning is going to come, I suspect. It's a shame because I think they're a good service and there is good stuff on it. I have found some excellent programming on Netflix. It's just a small proportion of what's out there. Anyway, that's just my soapbox. What do you think? Do you think that Netflix is way off the rails here? Because if you do, leave a comment somewhere that you get this podcast. If you get it on YouTube or the Solid Signal blog, if you get it on Spotify or Spreaker or any of those places, leave a comment. Tell us how you think. Tell us what's going on in your mind, and I'll come back to it in a future podcast, and we'll all talk about what everybody agreed to. That's it for this one, though. In the meantime, like and subscribe. It really does make me look good to the people I work for. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next week.